Hi everyone, it's Jerry. Have another interesting odds game to share with you. This was played on July 29th. On the white end, LeelaRooksOdds, no queen rook, playing against Vidit Gujrathi. This was a 5+3 blitz game played on lichess. Gujrathi's handle, Evil Genius 94. Now, his highest blitz rating on lichess, 2988, and his highest FIDE rating, 2747. All right, forget about ratings. Gujrathi here is playing against an opponent that is superhuman and will crush any human, even without a rook. So let's see how Leela manages to do just that. Now, the opening we're looking at, I guess we can call it an exchange, Caro-Kann. Leela follows with knight e5, already aimed at preventing the light square bishop from exchanging itself for the knight, pin and win. Strong knight immediately challenged, and we are quick in this game to work with an alpha 0 pawn. Knight hops in the center, bishop d3 follows, and from here we have e6. Now, after e6, something we can maybe point to, some success for Leela in that this bad bishop is inside of the pawn chain. Now, if you try to get it out and about, you run into some trouble. f3, and you'll have to give up some material shortly. So in this one, it is e6. Castles, bishop d7, strong pawn supported, bishop e7, and now g7 targeted. Provokes g6, there's a couple holes created now. Rook d1, queen kicked, back to f3, and now b2 under fire. Leela, for the moment at least, does not want to budge with any of the queenside pawns, so underdevelops. And black says, you know, I can also play that provoking game. Queen g4, provoking g6, we now see bishop a4. What are you going to do with the rook? All right, at this stage, Leela does commit, does flinch with the structure, hits back with tempo. Bishop c6, and now we have b4. This robs a few pieces from the c5 square. Now b4 can be challenged with a5, but Leela has a trick. What is this trick? Well, to now develop with tempo. There's no blocking on c5. And after the queen leaves, b5 is available, ensuring the a file does not open up. Bishop rocked back. And from here we have a4. Now if you don't play a4, black may play a4, and that opens up a key square on a5. So a rook lift, maybe a queen, b5 can be a target. All right, in this game, b5 glued in there. So this structure right here is already doing a number on this light square bishop. It's having a very tough time and will never quite be a productive piece for the rest of this game. Now, the follow-up is h4, space grab on the king side, square has opened up for the rook. Now, the computer says, Stockfish that is, says you could get away with taking on c3, but for a human, you know, it is a blitz game. You don't want to work yourself into any complicated position, into a pin. It says you could take on c3, allow the pin, and then take on e5. And after knight takes knight, rook c8 is one way to continue where it's still considered winning for black. Note in this position, d4 would not be the way with the fork. There's a way out with bishop f4. All right, how black plays it, let's not get into any potentially irritating pin. We have h4. Follow up bishop d4. h3 met with g3. Now, normally this would be, you know, a wonderful thing. You've provoked a weakness here on f3. Is the black queen going to be able to get to g2 one day? This bishop isn't going to be able to get to g2 or really have any influence on this diagonal as it stands right now, with this pawn fixed on light, this pawn fixed on light, and again, this structure crushing the bishop on this diagonal. It's just the queen you really have to be most concerned about, but it's very difficult to see how this queen inches her way into white's camp. Now, this is a strong point for Leela, no doubt. Challenged right away. Follow up king f1. So this was initially a head scratcher for me. What is going on? Why is the king moving towards the center in this middle game position? I believe it relates to a timely capture and then knight c3 with a fork, getting some exchanges in. What am I talking about exactly? Well, let's see. The response to king f1 is first the capture, pawn recapture. Now, in this position, black continues with rook h5. If the knight went to c3 in this position with the king on g1 rather than f1, black would be able to meet rook c1 with knight e2 check and exploit the vulnerability of the rook, the unprotected nature of the rook. Okay. The follow-up from here is rook to h5, queen e3, ready to now give this knight a kick. Follow up rook c8. And from here, we don't have the kick just yet. In the game, it's g4. Now, why wasn't f3 played here? You move the queen so that the f-pawn can advance, but it's not advancing just yet. Here's why. If you play f3, there's the sacrifice on g3. And then this h-pawn rolls. And when you try to stop it, it doesn't matter, it continues to advance. We get a bunch of exchanges in there, and in the end, a queen exchange, the biggest of all. So this would be winning for black. Pretty clean win from there with no queens on board. So Leela first flicks in at this stage here, g4 with tempo, and after rook h4, only now plays f3. Okay, you want to hop into g3? You're not taking a pawn, and I don't necessarily have to take with the pawn. Now, how black plays it, he puts the knight on c5. It's going to be down for the count shortly. You play to c3, there we go. There's rook to c1, pin and win of the knight. The computer says best is to hop into g3. And the reply here would not be to take the knight because of the similar story, h-pawn advancing and get mass exchanges. The reply to knight g3 would almost certainly be king to f2, looking to scoop up the knight next. And it says, in short, if this knight is going to die, let it die on this f5 square. Still considered winning after knight f5 and the capture. Still considered winning for black. All right, how black plays it, he does not hop into g3, knight c5 it is. Knight thrown in a pin, supported. Follow up knight d2. From here, queen a7 is played, and after that, with best play, it's considered drawn. I believe queen a7 is played to not only get out of the pin, but support c5, which is clearly coming under heavy fire. A winning path for black. Stockfish here points out queen b8 to get out of the pin, with the idea that if white continually chops away on c5, queen takes c5 here, there would be queen takes e5. Considered winning for black. All right, how black plays it, we have queen a7, pawn takes knight, rook takes pawn, rook takes rook, pawn takes rook, and note now, there is a pin Leela can now try to exploit. And we see just that. Knight b3 is there. This pawn can't budge. Now, black's reply is d4. The computer is also pointing out, well, as one of the top moves, it says rook to h8, allowing this pawn to be picked up. All right, black wants to hang on to the material, plays d4. Okay, queen f4 follows. And let me throw this position too as a pop quiz. What move would you play here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, there is only one move that keeps this level. Black does not find it. In the game, queen c7 is played. The only move here for black is to pitch the c pawn and force white to occupy c4 with the bishop. Why is this important? We'll see soon enough. With this line, it now wants to continue with a bishop improvement. Retreating in this case should be seen as an improvement. Nothing happening on this diagonal. At least it is now a moment away from getting on this diagonal. And it is in a spot, in other words, to quickly tame the knight. Knight e4, you can swipe that piece. No, it doesn't have c4 as an option. I'm highlighting c4 and e4 here because if the knight can get to either, it's guaranteed to get to this dream post on d6, an octopus knight. And it will be far better than this in no man's land rook. In combination with the queen on f6, f7 going to collapse. Big problem if the knight could get to one of these two dark squares. And that's essentially what nearly happens in this game. We don't see c4. It's queen c7, and after move 33, knight d2, white is now in a winning position. Black knows it and resigns. There's no stopping. Knight c4 or e4 into d6. Black is dead. Look at this final position. Passed pawn connected for white. That's a nice positive. Black has connected passed pawns, but they are blockaded. Knight c4 happening soon. The bishop dead. Queen staring at a couple pawns, watching over. Has a little pressure on e5, but it's conveniently defended. And a rook that is doing nothing. Completely dominant final position here by Leela. Anyhow, your thoughts on this one? I continue to be impressed with these OddsBots games. Feel free as usual to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. Hope you enjoyed it. Maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.